Imagine being nominated for a James Beard Award next to shows like Chef's Table and Parts Unknown, except your show is just you filming, editing, and scoring the music out in the Canadian wilderness. That's Kevin Kossowan, filmmaker, forager, hunter, teacher, and today's guest. Kevin, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I know you, even though I don't. We've never met before, but just watching your show with Travis and then watching the podcast he did with you, it's chatting with Jeff Sanger as well, and it's
hmm
I feel like I know you much more than I actually do. So
Oh, well, that's
I
good.
yeah yeah
That makes one of us.
yeah, exactly. I do have to say though, man, your show is like it's something else. It's not like it's like when I'm not a big fan of hunting shows. I love
Yeah,
hunting,
me
but
neither.
yeah, I mean they all and I've talked to someone that actually does produce a hunting show, and they say that there has to be a kill in it. Otherwise, if there isn't, people drop off. They're not interested in watching a hunting show that doesn't have a kill. And your show is it it is a hunting show sort of, but it's not. And there's cooking, but it's not a cooking show. I mean, cooking shows have like massive, big, obnoxious personalities, and like it's like the subject matter is not interesting enough. They have to put all this razzle dazzle and crap in it to keep it entertaining, and it's not. It's got a tinge of like National Geographic with how it's so beautifully filmed, but it's not. It's not like peppering you with scientific information. It's just like it's all those things, but it elevates and it just sort of you let it breathe. And I'm just
I'm just
curious.
gonna start letting you write my bio from now on.
I love it because it's not. It's for people that love the outdoors and love all those things, but like you can just immerse yourself in this. It's a beautiful show and I love it. And I'm so
Thank you.
curious. I'm so curious if you have like an influence or what what I guess what influences you have that created that show, or if it's just all inside the brain of Kevin Kossowan.
Interesting. Well, it's a little bit of both of those things,
Yeah.
but there was one show in particular that did happen. I think they're still producing it. That really did change my opinion on hunting shows because, like you, I wasn't all that interested in
Yeah.
watching 14 bucks get killed in an episode. And then the biggest issue for me was like the rolling of credits once the buck was on the ground,
Yeah.
and like that's the end of hunting, and for me it never has been. I grew up on
Mm.
game meat, and for us, like actually as a kid, most of the time with big game I was on the butchery side. Like the,
Mm.
the old guys would go hunting and then I would be at home and pick up when the carcasses were hanging in a garage. That's
Mm.
so to me it always made sense that from there is kind of the interesting bit, especially coming from culinary, like some culinary experience on the film side too. It just seems like this huge gap. But the show kind of visually that changed the game for me was Heartland Bowhunter,
Okay.
because that show finally took cinematography seriously. And I think they
Mm.
influenced a lot of people in that era that they started producing their show, because they were doing time lapse cinematography. They were doing just all kinds of kind of doc work
Mm.
around the experience that wasn't really being done before. Now, that's not a food show at all. It's
Yeah.
still a hunting show, but it was a methodology of showing people the outdoor world in a very different way at that time. So that would have been one of my only other influences. On the other side, like it's pretty funny to use these. I've never even thought about this. So good question. It would be Heartland Bowhunter on the hunting side and Jamie at Home by Jamie Oliver, which was this really like basic in his backyard, kind of no fuss, making stuff out of whatever, and just this beautiful food show, beautifully shot. And that
I
was
love
always
that show.
inspiring to me on the yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
just can't believe they didn't produce seasons and seasons. I could watch that forever every year.
Yep. Me too.
Um, so those would probably be two.
Mm.
Another web series that kind of changed my life was one called The Perennial Plate. Daniel Klein, another James
Mm.
Beard winning filmmaker guy from Minnesota, originally now in Mexico. But he produced a series of local food short films back when I
Mm.
was doing other things for work. I was in the financial industry eons ago. And it was watching his stuff that made me pick up a camera to begin with and think, okay, interesting, telling these short stories about all the cool things that are happening around your local food system. I want to try that. And then I ended up in the industry within like 2 or 3 years.
So was it that food, angle that got you to make the jump from finance to filmmaking? Or was it more was there something
Mm.
else there?
No, it was general hatred of my former career. Maybe was one of the reasons. But also, um, I used to be heavily involved in music and still do. Like this
Mhm.
morning, I was writing score. Um, and that at a point I was playing in a band a lot as a young adult, and then got out of that because I started having young kids and the babies in the house. And when that kind of ended the musical arc of my earlier adulthood, there was kind of a big creative gap, I guess, and food filled it. And I just started traveling a bunch and got really interested in food, and then went like weirdo on it, and I would say like reinvented my entire home food system. So like, where does our flour come from? Let's go meet a grain farmer and learn how, who's the best grain farmer in the area. And then just nicked away at all of that, redesigning who I was buying my food from, started growing all of our own veg and planting fruit trees and getting backyard hens and kind of going down that road. So hunting to me was part of a more holistic approach to just supplying my own food in general. Today I'm gardening, and in a day or two I'll be picking garlic mustard for a restaurant, and then I'll be hunting next week for black bears and rabbits, and then back, pruning a fruit tree. So it's kind of all over the place. But when From the Wild was born, I it was an interesting time. I was actually looking at building a website to deliver video direct to consumer. That did not exist back then, did not exist. And Vimeo, Netflix was still mailing DVDs to my wife. That's how much times have changed.
Jeez.
And Amazon released Apple created this strange idea that people would actually pay for content through iTunes. And I went, whoa, this is a different era we're entering now. And so as soon as Vimeo said, "Yeah, we'll allow you to sell to your audience," which I already had an online presence, so I thought, okay, great, I'll go with whoever's going to be an early entrant, knowing that there's going to be all kinds of issues and clunkiness. But it wasn't actually too bad at all, as from the start. And so I thought, I'm either going to start a series about kind of sustainable agriculture and small farms, but that space was really dense, or something outdoors and culinary. And I had been in pointing cameras in the culinary industry enough to know there was a big gap there, that the chefs I was working with really had no idea how to work with a white fronted goose, for example. Like you give them an ingredient that I think is obscure and interesting, and they've never even heard of it. So I thought, there's a big hole in the market there. This was before Meat Eater hit Netflix too. Like there was a massive hole. Hank Shaw wasn't even writing books yet, I don't think. Maybe he was just starting. So it was in that time. And so we're in season 13 now, and we just kind of plowed ahead with, as you probably know, it went from hunting and fishing to like a pretty deep dive on plants too. We're working with I work with herbalists, and I'm about to guide a whole bunch of people that are mixologists and bartenders and distillers on how to use which plants are relevant for making spirits and liqueurs and cocktails. So it's like really gone down that path in a way that I never saw coming.
Yeah, and you're traveling around quite a bit. Like initially, it seemed Alberta focused and boreal forest and all that kind of stuff. But you're all over the place now. How is that like to go into a place that you're not familiar with or comfortable with? Do you just kind of go in blind and figure it out, or
Well, a few years into the show, I was offered a lot of opportunity to get into a lot of unusual places. One that in my mind is like I was offered to go moose hunting in Kazakhstan, for example. And I thought at the time, like, that's novel. And we did actually go moose hunting in Sweden, but I'm not sure I want to produce a novelty show. That's not how food resonated with me. To me, time and place resonated with me. That idea of terroir that the wine geeks like. I see food that way. So I decided kind of very, very intentionally that I wanted to go back to the same places and keep learning. So long as there was something to continue to learn in that place at that time of year, it was worthwhile to go back. And so have done that largely. Where it has expanded is, and I in season 6 we went to Nova Scotia and Ontario, Newfoundland. So I've kind of been around the country a bit. And last fall I was in Finland designing a knife with a Michelin star chef buddy. But largely it's in the grasslands here, the boreal, and on the west coast of BC. I started falling in love with kayaking and getting on the water and exploring the ocean about 7 years ago, and got a sea kayak designation as a guide because the Sea Kayak Guide Association said I should, as due diligence if I'm going to be producing television or whatever you call this. On the ocean, and so I got some training, and immediately they said, "Hey, can we book you to do food specific foraging, hunting, foraging, fishing, like crab trapping specific expeditions?" And so I said yes, and so I've been doing that for this is my third season. So I do see kayak expeditions off the west coast, putting it in Tofino usually,
Yeah.
and that's another component of what I do. Is it weird to be an Edmontonian teaching West Coast people about West Coast plants? Hard, yes.
Well,
There was some imposter syndrome early on, but
but people don't know, like, just because you live here doesn't mean you know, right? Like, you brought up terroir, okay? That is not a term people use to describe wild spaces. Yes, French
no,
wines and right? Like, people but
yeah,
these are, like, cultivated over thousands of years. This is like, yes,
yeah.
the clay soil and blah, 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 and we're growing Pinot Noir, whatever. You talk about it in a wild space, like it's a given there. You just, like, dropped it like no big deal, but people don't think about it like that. Like, that's totally
No,
different.
but it's just to drill into that, what people care about in wine is elevation, aspect to the sun, the geology under those grapes, the vintage, like how much rain did you get? How is this a different year than others? I was just in the bush. It's a strange year. We had 3 weeks ago, we had 2.5 to 3 feet of snow still. Now we don't. The horsetails are late, the leaves are early, the fiddleheads are kind of right in the right zone. The rabbits aren't as abundant as they should be. The whitetails are way more abundant than they should be. And and it's the same time and place as I always go there. It's mid-May. It's always kind of, you'd think it should be the same. It's not. Population dynamics change, seasonality is different, and even within one little pocket of a place, like in the grasslands, we can be picking artemisias or what people call wild sages in one spot, and then you're dipping into a different little draw and you're picking cacti. But the cacti aren't present anywhere else. So, like, that specificity of place matters. And if you care about their fruit or about their flower, then time really matters. And it's kind of like that for every species, that there's a window. When I'm guiding plants, usually I tell people every 10 days things change out there. So if you want to learn more, you can do the same walk all the time in your own backyard. Go every 10 days and you'll find new things blooming, new fruit ready, new mushrooms popping up. And so time and place massively matters. And From the Wild eventually became, in the production notes, it says um, uh, ecosystem-based camp-based ecosystem exploration. Those are the unfancy words. I find if I'm not in camp, if we're not present, like actually in the place and living there, it's hard to really plug into it. But by day 2, 3, sometimes that's when you're kind of finding what nature has on offer. But ecosystem exploration, meaning we may be on an elk hunt, but if we find a huge flush of mushrooms or something else that's really interesting, we might get completely sidetracked and do something else. We're there for the plants and for the birds and for the fish and for the everything. Whatever there is that we can harvest, that's kind of what we tackle. And it requires a lot about a lot of stuff, I guess, which is kind of the one of the reasons people don't. But
Yeah. Well, I think I mean, I've personally found that noticing all those little side ancillary things when, like, say, when you're hunting, make you a much better hunter. Like, if I
Hmm.
notice if we're like, I use this example all the time with people that are getting into it, I'm like, "Notice if you're going bear hunting, where the dandelions are growing. Not just that there's dandelions, but what sort of stage in their growth they are, because the bears are obviously attracted
Yep.
to it. Look for spruce tips. If you're up at an elevation, you're not seeing spruce tips, eh, go down or whatever is like notice all those things in the area that you're hunting, and you'll see
Yep.
certain things relate to certain things, right? And everything is so connected. But sometimes we get so, like you mentioned there about going hunting for elk and finding mushrooms, and we get so laser focused on whatever that thing is we're targeting that we become blind to everything else. And when you are able to slow down, notice all the other stuff, it just, I mean, it's a more enjoyable experience, which is kind of the whole point of it all anyway, right? But it makes you much more
Hmm.
successful if you are in search of acquisition of food, right?
Okay, I'll give you an example that sticks in my brain because it's very recent. Um, I was snow goose hunting for the first time this spring at a property I have in southern Alberta and shot a snow goose and was filming snow goose cookery. Fine. Great. I succeeded at the task of the target species. But the coolest part of that episode had nothing to do with the snow goose or the snow goose hunt. It was the fact that I took the time to look at all the dried herbs that I'd hung last summer on the wall and go, I wonder if I can build like a digestivo kind of thing, like a chartreuse kind of thing. And so I just tinctured a whole bunch of different plants and I brought it back. And since then, some local brewers and people that make booze for a living were like, oh, we need to talk. And so that little, the dabbling in the
Yeah.
plant world actually produced something of far more value that I can enjoy for a way longer time, that's spurring way more interesting conversations than I made dinner.
Yeah.
And that's not to diss the meat side at all,
No.
but it's a good example of kind of stopping and instead of just singularly focusing on the one thing that you can fixate on, look around and there's lots of interesting stuff. It is a bottomless pit. Nature's an interesting place, full of flavors.
What are you using for tinctures? Are you using like an Everclear or straight vodka or something else?
Early days I used Everclear, and then I found a product out of Alberta called Clear Stock. It's made by Strathcona Spirits, and they're just basically repackaging neutral grain spirit, or NGS, from a large plant in Saskatchewan that takes Alberta and Saskatchewan grains and pulses and ferments and distills it into neutral spirit. It's really good, and we can actually now get single varietal neutral grain spirit, so we can get just like wheat or rye spirit, which is really neat. That was just not available 15 years ago. It's another byproduct of some law changes in Alberta around production of booze. So we're in a really good spot for that. Vodka does not extract nearly as quickly. Neutral grain spirit, which is at 96 usually percent, extracts flavor faster and color way more. So that's not always a good thing. When you're producing a show in 3 days, it is a good thing. But my buddy Robert Rogers, who's on the health side of things, the medicine side of things, has reminded me he would tell you what percentage of alcohol by volume is ideal by species. That's his depth of knowledge. So he could say, for that species, you want 70% alcohol. For that one, you'd want like 45. And for that one, you can extract it as fast as you want. And that's, I think that's part of the great gift of my work, is that I get to hang out with people with that level of knowledge that both kind of level you up, but also keep you humble on what you don't know. Like if it's such a broad it's such a broad space that I still feel like I don't know, so I'm still constantly learning, and I have more expertise than lots of people, but I also have people around me that have more expertise kind of in every bucket of things that I do, whether it's sea kayaking on the West Coast or herbal medicine and cocktail blending, whatever. I have friends that know more than me about all those things. And so it's fun to continually be just trying my best.
Well, that's I mean, that's how you learn, right? I just
Hmm.
I love being humbled. I love people telling me I'm wrong. Hank Shaw, you mentioned it before.
Oh yeah,
That
he's
man
not
is
scared to tell you
good.
you're wrong.
No, he's like, "Nope, you're wrong." That is
Yeah,
so wrong, and then tell you for
yeah,
20 minutes how wrong you are. I love it. Like,
yeah.
I
He's
mean,
so well informed. Yeah.
yeah, that man knows what he's talking about. But one day, hopefully, I'll find something and tell him he's wrong. But until then, I'll just keep learning, keep learning. But okay, so you're you're talking about different ingredients, um, trying new things, the endless pit of constantly learning about new plants and stuff like that. Um, makes me think about foraging for different ingredients, and I think about lamb's quarter. Lamb's quarter for me is one of those plants that it is replaced farmed spinach, or if I garden spinach, I don't even grow spinach anymore because
Me
lamb's
neither.
quarter lamb's quarter grows in my garden naturally. It's a weed, and I like this way I don't even have to worry about planting it. It just grows. I think it tastes better. I don't buy it
There
anymore.
you go. That's the important part.
Yeah.
If it was okay as a
Yeah.
cooking green, I would say, well, you probably should still plant the
Yeah.
chard or spinach. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
It is better. We actually covered this on a recent episode. That line came out of my face, and like this is the
Yeah.
best cooking green that I've
Mhm.
ever come across, and I would choose it first every time. It's so creamy and doesn't have the metallic-y kind of minerality that spinach kind of has on your in your teeth and stuff. It's just got this cleanness to it that's so perfect. I love lamb's quarter. It's great.
Yeah, I'll pick a ton of it. I get enough just growing as weeds in my garden that I can pick it, blanch it, throw it in my freezer, have it for the full year. But it makes me think about so many plants that we harvest that we do it. It's a luxury for us, right? Like people now, most people don't need to forage for plants. It is really a luxury, right? Like we pick all these, sea asparagus, and it's very niche and chefs love it, and all these things, but people aren't surviving
Mhm.
on sea beans. They're not surviving on cattails or any of these other things. We pick it because it's a novelty. But for you, outside of lamb's quarter, are there any other plants for you that have like replaced other plants? Like they're just part of your diet that you use?
Oh man, my pantry is weird. The first one that popped to mind is fireweed. Fireweed changed a lot in my life. One is it's got a lot of biomass, but yeah, Camarian and Angustifolium, that one. We use mostly the greens, and where it really changed things is when you oxidate or oxidize the leaves, you can make tea out of it. What that tastes shockingly like black tea. It's the same process that black tea goes through to get to that aroma.
Mhm.
So it replaced all of the teas that we serve at events. The hot teas, we no longer would ever use a black tea base. It goes into cocktails like French 75s. It goes
Yeah.
into hard iced teas. It's kind of a foundational flavor for a beverage around here now.
Yep.
Um, that one really changed things. It was a species that at this time of year, just had some this week. It's
Mm.
just tiny little shoots, and they're amazing, kind of in salads and sautéed or anything, just in any way. And then later in the year, the leaves, as they mature, are just like some material biomass. Actually, it was Hank Shaw that kind of put my brain on it a number of years ago. We were on a trout fishing trip in the Rockies, he and I and a buddy and Jeff Singer actually,
Yeah.
and we couldn't catch a trout to save our life that was in the right slot
I
size.
I remember that episode. You guys like had
Yeah, and so
fireweed and
he's
onions
like,
or something.
"We'll just eat
Yeah.
fireweed, I guess." And like that wasn't planned. That was just what happened,
Yeah.
and it made me aware of it at the time. Like, oh, that can really save your butt. So that one is something that we use a ton. I would say Galium triflorum is something that has entered my life and stuck. It is a plant that I pick at restaurant scale for a restaurant, and it's a fairly busy restaurant. And the chef, the owner, said a couple years ago it replaced 98% of their vanilla bean purchasing. So it's
Wow.
wholesale replaced the need for any vanillin in desserts. So one of the custards I make for events often is just Gallium triflorum and dandelion root, and it's just
Huh.
those two things as flavor components, but it tastes kind of like pumpkin pie, gingerbread, milk chocolate. when you combine them, and not just a little bit, like a
Yeah.
lot. And with any awkward off notes, none, like zero.
Really?
Just completely approachable, completely
Hmm.
delicious, and it's just been a no-brainer, easy thing. Galium ends up in cocktails a bunch, and the beverage side too. So it just kind of ended up everywhere and then the compound in it is called coumarin, which is a bit of a controversial one. It's funny because it's in tonka beans, and lots of people in the pastry kitchen know tonka beans. If you're in Europe, the flavor of tonka bean is very familiar. Uh, but when you in Canada, not less, far less so. You'd have to, our local patisserie here, like the best one in the city, would have, you could buy them, but they're otherwise pretty hard to find. But the same compound, coumarin, is in Galium triflorum. Not all Galium species have it, just that one. But it's also present in yellow sweet clover, and it's also present in sweetgrass. That's what makes sweetgrass smell sweet, is
Really?
this chemical or whatever. And it's easy to infuse into liquids, into creams, and into drinks and stuff. So that one really shifted for me because I haven't made a dessert with vanilla paste or vanilla for years.
Yeah.
That's a pretty important pivot. So that's
What
a couple examples.
what's the common name for is there a different name for gallium trifluoride?
Sweet sweet bed straw is one of the
Ah, okay. Okay.
in it was actually a chef buddy out of Vancouver that put me onto it because he had worked in England and was using Gallium odoratum or oh, it's gonna bug me. In England, it's a really common culinary herb that they use in desserts, and we don't have that one, but we do have one of the galliums that does carry the thing. They look like garden cleavers when people first see them, and
Yeah.
they think, "Oh, I've seen that. That's kind of cat's tonguey, grippy thing from your garden." Related, but not
Okay.
the same one. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I have cleavers everywhere, but I don't know if I've seen sweet bed straw before.
it
But
grows it grows under open, kind of semi-open canopies of forest.
okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's not as prickly or that sort of
No, it'll
velcro-y?
stick to you. It's
Yeah.
not quite
Okay.
as sticky, but it
Okay.
still is sticky. Yeah, it has
Interesting.
six leaves. That's usually how you identify it.
Okay.
And the three little flowers on it are micro. They're tiny little, hard to identify. But if
Hmm.
you just dry it, like when I dry a handful of it on in my vehicle, if you let it dry in your vehicle on a warm summer day, your whole vehicle will smell like tonka bean. Like it's really potent. Well, one of my kids asked me to quit using it in varied plastic containers because the plastic containers were just carry post wash would smell like tonka beans.
It's like tomato sauce in a plastic container, like
Yeah, a
forever
little bit.
staining it. Yeah. When I make something that I think is like incredibly delicious, I find it so challenging to take a picture of it. So if you check my social feed, it'll be like a half-eaten plate of something that was really good. I'm like, "Oh, shit, I should take a picture of it." But I struggle so much with being able to document it. I just want to live in that moment. And
Yeah.
if you're especially if you're outside, because there's just so much more of that, like, wanting to be in the moment. How do you struggle with that? Is that, like, a constant thing that you're like, "Damn, I just wanna be outside in the woods and, like, cook this rabbit over
Oh,
a fire."
well, there's two ways to interpret that question, maybe. I'll go with the first one. That moment of like hitting the plate, especially it's a pretty important destination in the story arc of what we're there to do.
Mm.
I had it took me years to have the discipline to like, okay, slow down, get a slider out, like take your
Yeah.
time, get the photography done before we eat the thing. It just takes 3 minutes, but I always want to rush that moment because of that same excitement of just wanting to get into it. But the other side of it is that I think you probably could understand this having watched the show is that I actually really enjoy filming the pace of nature, like, and observing the details of it. And I like scenes where someone's just making themselves a coffee. Like just the little moments that actually are taking place every day. That stuff I could film that and spend time filming that endlessly, and I guess I have because we're at 120 episodes or something in or more. And the part that that also applies is when I get home and into post production, I love sifting through that stuff. I love the rough cuts and the assembles and kind of re-immersing myself back in that place. And part of that is visual. Part of that is the just kind of the technician side of like, did I capture that properly? But I'm also my camera has an Audio Technica BP 4029, which nobody's going to know what that is. But it's a really high end stereo microphone. So to me, the sonic landscape of place is very evocative to this brain. So it's really neat to get back and hear the ocean waves lapping in gravel when I'm sitting in my studio, or listening to the spring birds that are only there in spring. They're not there in the fall, doing their thing in that little window of time, because by the time I edit it, that window of time has passed. So it's like I describe post production as like a time machine and the film process. It's like you get to relive all these really cool experiences. And I'm often with really cool people doing cool stuff. So it's neat to just be able to go back.
So for you, consuming the food is like killing the deer. It's only one small part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The way the show's designed now, is that a good episode for me has a number of different scene types in it. So I want to see somebody fishing, sure, but I'd also love to see them drop that fish carcass in a crab trap. And then maybe it's even more interesting to film the crab cookery than the fishing or the fish cookery. And then I'd be curious about like what are they putting on the plate with that crab? If it's plant based, like say it's sea rocket or something, or beach rocket, or sorry, Latin Cachalea dentula is the one we use the most. Um, I want to film that foraging scene. And then if that's the case, you have a human that's out doing these cool things. I want to see them cooking and I want to see them living there. You know, that's just, I don't know, there's something evocative about that for me, that it's like this holistic need for me to see the whole picture, to share that whole picture, mostly with myself, but also for the viewer. That is just how my brain works. I've learned that over time working with other cinematographers and camera operators, is like, oh, I see things very differently. And I think that's
Well,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a creative component that is hard to explain a bit. But for me, you can dial it back to how we started this conversation. Is, to me, watching someone stalk a deer and shoot a deer, that's interesting for a 3 minute scene.
Mhm.
That's it. After
Yeah.
that, I have a 30-minute show, so I need something else.
I think you described why your show is so compelling and so enjoyable for people to watch because you're able to put them in your place and put them through the lens and be able to watch what you're seeing and experience it. I think
I think the combination of
mm,
that immersiveness is one of the things that has that's one of the ways the show's been described.
mm,
The fact that it's unscripted, I think, helps a lot.
yeah,
There's no production company suggesting how the story arc goes. There's nobody dictating anything dialogue wise. So it's got a really organic, transparent feel that I think people that resonates with people. I
yeah.
think, um, yeah, and then it's I laugh often, like it's a really poor choice, really, to do what I've done. It's like super artsy and abstract. So and most people in the hunting community, they're like, you know, maybe not as sorted that way in the brain, would rather I was just killing the buck and like laying off of all the fruity feelings stuff, and
They
you know,
can
that
watch
kind of
those
thing.
other shows.
I know that's what
Yeah,
I've always thought. There's plenty of other shows
yeah.
that cover that ground. And same with plants. Like as my interest in plants has increased, and we dabble in. Last year we made a fireweed beer. We made a cow parsnip liqueur with one distillery, and we're going to be making a spruce tip beer with one of the best brewers in the city this year. That stuff, if you're an avid, if like you're a singularly focused hunter of any kind, all of that stuff's boring to you, and you're not really don't really care that this human is doing those things. And for the people that aren't avid hunters, or who maybe are maybe interested in hunting, some of that's the interesting stuff. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I follow the wisdom of Rick Rubin. Um, Rick Rubin effectively said at some point that as a creator, the best thing you could do for your audience is just create for yourself. If you make something that you love, then share that with people. Then that's way better than you trying to make something that people will like. So I guess I've been in that lane for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. Your passion is obvious in what you're producing, and I think you've been really successful at putting people into that world.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I want to know when you weren't as successful though. Um, what is the nastiest thing that you've eaten in one of your shows, and did it make the final cut? Like, did it end up on the show?
Oh wow, nastiest things?
Yeah, like I mean, I've eaten like uh, there's so much variation in wild food. And people are like, "Oh, this berry's the best or this one's the worst or whatever." And I've eat like
Yeah.
salal. I've had like some salal that'll rival blueberries. Like I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I
I've
love Salal blossoms. I think
Yeah,
they're so cool. They're beautiful little white lanterns and crunchy. Such a
yeah.
cool texture to them.
They're gorgeous. And I've had some salal that like is horrible, just mealy nastiness.
Uh,
Um Cattails, not my favorite. I've heard people say they're fantastic. Like, is there something that you guys I mean, I know you were working with, Chef Rogalski for a bit, and you'd give him something, and he'd have to sort of make something with it. Where
oh yeah.
was there anything
Yeah,
that you guys did that was just like, "Okay, I could survive on it, but it's not something I'd wanna eat?"
in that show, yeah, there was more exploration of like this is supposedly edible, maybe a survival food. Like how do you cook it?
Yeah.
So that's true. And pond lily tubers were one of those that were like, okay.
Huh.
I wouldn't choose that. But honestly, I wish I had a better answer for you. Do I have some preference in animals? Sure. But I'm thinking of something. I can't think of anything challenging. No, we generally don't
Huh.
axe a dish,
Yeah.
ever. Uh,
Huh.
what happen in camp is that we'll come in with like two or three ideas of what we think we're going to do, but then kind of while you're there, some better idea comes up, and so stuff gets
Mhm.
sidelined. That happens all the time. But something gross. Hmm.
If there's not, that's an answer too. I figured with all of the things that you've foraged and eaten and stuff, there might be something out there that's just, like, terrible, but if there's not,
No,
that's fine.
yeah, no, there's not. And I'll give you an example of maybe the moments I like the most. And it
Mm,
actually was producing Wild Harvest with Les Stroud and Paul Rogalski. The ingredient was tall blue lettuce in Ontario, super bitter. And I tasted
mm.
it and went, "Oh, I'm glad you're on camera, Paul, and not me, because I don't know what you're going to do with this." And he tasted it and he's like, "Oh, that's fine." And
Yeah.
and I thought, "What?" And in that show, I learned like this brutally bitter thing. Uh, he took it and he charred it to add layers of bitterness instead of just having one note of bitterness. And then he described it to me as like, imagine like you have a guitar amp and you've got your bass cranked all the way up. Like that sounds bad. But if you crank all your other knobs up the same way, so if you bring up the salinity and the acidity and the sweetness to meet that bitterness where it's at, then it and balance it, it's fine. It's just a matter of it being out of balance, and that then you're in trouble. And the dish he made was stunning and was great. And I went, oh, there have been lots of those moments. And I've another ingredient that originally I thought was disgusting and then didn't was Artemisia absinthium. When I first tasted it and handed it to chef pals, I was like, "What do you do with this?" Wormwood is the common name. And everyone was stumped. It was so bitter and brutal until we learned that, oh, you can make absinthe with it, say, or vermouths, or like put it in the bar side where bitter is an asset and where people have historically used it as a medicine, as it's an antiparasitic. Uh, and it's fantastic. And now wormwood is one of the like focal points of the tour or the walk I'm going to be guiding on Friday. So I would say that maybe the big lesson for me has been every time I bump into an ingredient where I think I don't know what to do with that, it doesn't mean there's nothing to be done with that. It doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means I don't know yet what its best application is. And we really don't bump into any ingredients where, the people in the room go, "Oh, that's just hot garbage. Let's just throw that out." It's more around like, "Huh, okay, like that's super tough or that's super bitter or like how do you work with that?" And there always seems to be an answer if you're willing to, grind it around in your brain long enough.
It's kind of a nice luxury to be be able to do that too, right? Like,
Yes.
it's not a survival situation where you're like, "I guess I'm
No.
chewing on these cattail tubers raw," or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can play around with it and find that. That's very cool.
Yep.
Um, you grew up with foraging and hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff, yeah?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
grew up on moose meat. I would say though that the qualifier is that like my family hunted moose specifically. The odd white-tailed buck would wander through if he was a big guy and they shot him and they'd just turn him into garlic sausage. So I really didn't know whitetail at all until later in life. We foraged high bush cranberries or viburnum trilobum and shaggy manes. That was like the two foraged items in my life as a kid, but nothing else. I really learned everything starting when From the Wild was born and going, oh, there's like you can watch the arc in the show. I go from season one. I We knew nothing, and I had ice fished before, but did I know what I was doing? No. I had never caught a trout before. Like there was all kinds of things that we hadn't. I didn't knew nothing about plants at all. Zero. I worked with them never, other than again high bush cranberries. So the learning curve has been steep, and I started guiding, I guess, about 5 years into it, roughly something like that. So now it's been, I guess, 7 years of that. So I don't know. You just keep
Yeah.
learning as you go.
And I find a lot of people, so disconnected with wild food, and they just, like, they want someone to take them out on a tour, they wanna build their confidence, they wanna, have more comfort with understanding and identifying these plants, but when you were getting back into it, did you trust yourself a little bit more because you had a little bit of a background? Like, you know how to identify shaggy mane, you maybe understand a little bit of the vernacular, or how to identify these things, or was it
Oh,
did you have to
interesting.
build your confidence slowly?
I am a deep diver when it comes to subject matter. So, like, when it was time to learn about mushrooms, I took out every book from the library on fungus and then studied them. When I was guiding on the West Coast, I spent an entire winter studying botany and seaweeds of the Pacific Northwest to prep for the next season. So I think I think my trajectory has been one of, oh, that's interesting, deep dive. Oh, that's interesting, deep dive. That's kind of how my career's gone. And there was a summer I started guiding around the province, like around the whole province, 2 or 3 years ago. I learned 20 or 30 new species that summer in my own province that I had never seen before. No idea they existed because I'd never really been in those areas at that time of year in June, for example. Um, and so you just keep learning more and more and more and more. And then you start understanding relationships between families of plants and fungus and how and so then it becomes easier to spot leaf shapes. And I'm at the point now where when I'm guiding, I think you asked about kind of getting dropped into, and I didn't answer your question about getting dropped into a space. I quite enjoy blind guiding now, where I've never been there before, because it's fun to reinforce the knowledge and nature is very overlapping and very consistent. So in Alberta, I can get dropped pretty much anywhere and identify most of the plants in that space. And then the other big important piece is that when I started this process, I thought I should learn plants because I bet you in the bush there's like 5% of it that is edible, and I should know that 5%, and that 95% of it's probably just trees. And it turns out the inverse is true, is that 95% of it is usable. There's the odd thing that maybe 98. There's the odd thing you have to avoid. But otherwise, and even some of those things that you're supposed to avoid that are listed as toxic in a guidebook, you can eat if you know what to do with it, or you can use in the bar side or some other way. And so I'm at the point now where it's just most of any ecosystem in Western Canada to me is pretty legible, and you can use. most of that ecosystem in various ways, depending on what you're doing. Some of my favorite plants now to teach are where you could take the plant and you could do like your cocktail, appetizer, main, and dessert from one plant.
Huh.
I love plants like that,
Oh,
and
yeah, I bet.
it really changes your perspective to have to do that. One of them is dandelion, for example. Dandelion can make a coffee. It can make the dessert I referred to earlier with Galium triflorum. We've capered the buds, and I grew up on the greens being used in salads. So there's just a whole host of things you can do with that one plant. The roots, sorry, the crown of the plant, just above the root and below the leaves, that white bit,
Yeah.
uh, super desirable as like a cooked vegetable, kind of texturally like artichoke heart, kind of in that zone.
I heard that
Uh,
recently. I think Alan
yeah,
Bergo,
yes,
in
he was
his
doing
book.
it.
Yeah.
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 Uh, so a plant like that can do a lot of things, and
Mm.
I really enjoy uh, that. We've done entire menus with just spruce. We've done menus like that with a few different species, and it's really fun to wrap your head around the fact that okay, it's just a spruce tree, but you can actually build an entire menu around the flavors of that thing. So it means that walking into any space, it's pretty easy for a weirdo like me to be able to just talk endlessly about trees and then go, oh yeah, we probably should cover other things too.
Yeah, it is funny, recently being in Sweden and walking around in the woods and
Oh,
noticing
that's fun.
how similar everything is, like,
Yeah.
we were told, "Okay, we're doing a lunch, you gotta make something." I was like, "Okay, cool, so what protein do we have?" And everything else, we're like, "Okay, let's walk around the woods, see if we can find some mushrooms," but within a few minutes, you're like, "Well, really, it's not identical," but like
No.
you said, there's families of plants, and if you can identify
Yeah.
one, then you can identify another, and so many things are so similar, and a chanterelle in Sweden is the same as a chanterelle chanterelle in BC, right?
I had a fun time in Finland. We were designing a knife. I was with Sasu Laukkanen, who's had 9 years of Michelin stars in Helsinki before he became a knife maker. And he wasn't drinking at the time, so I was gonna make I was wanted to make him some type of non-alcoholic cocktail analog. So I was riffing on a Corpse Reviver number 2, which is a pretty classic cocktail. And in Finland, they had sea buckthorn, a bunch of different cultivars I was very familiar with sea buckthorn from here. But I went in to go make like a gin kind of component for that non-alcoholic drink, and I learned real fast that the forest looked the same. They had birch, they had spruce, etc., tamarack or larch, but they were none of the species were the same. They have one spruce tree, and it's the Norway spruce, and they have like two birch trees, and neither of them are Betula pipifera. It was Betula pubescens and oh, it's Pendula and pubescens. And we have Papifera. So you think you know stuff, and then so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but I know spruce really well. Like I teach it all the time across Western Canada, and I tasted Norway spruce, and it tasted like nothing. And I thought,
Oh.
man, Sasu must think I'm an idiot because we use it all the time here,
Oh,
but
yeah.
ours tastes amazing. Theirs doesn't. Um, our lodgepole pine here is amazing, and
Yeah.
the pines on the east coast are horrible. So even though yeah, it's neat still to like you say to travel somewhere else and go, wow, they're related. But even within similar families, I sure get schooled from time to time on just because they're related, don't mean they taste the same at all.
Well, I think it goes back to your, terroir sort of comment on
Yeah,
how it's different species, different soil, different everything. It just everything tastes different wherever you go, and
yeah.
which is a fun challenge when you get to cook with it and be like, I don't know, what's it gonna taste like? And you get to kind of mess around and change it up.
Mhm. I also enjoy the fact that everybody who cooks something in the field has a different spin. Like
Mm.
it's people have different palates and they cook from different places, culturally and experience wise. And so even with the same ingredients, could get quite different plates at the end of the day.
As someone that doesn't come from sort of the traditional filmmaking or hunting or, background when you're producing your show, do you feel like that gives you an advantage?
Yeah. Advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. The big one is the creative side. I remember when I was producing music a fair bit, I would just not listen to other music so that whatever's barfing out of your head creatively is not influenced as heavily by other artists. I would say the same thing. I don't watch film or television as a hobby. I never did. And really, I was the guy playing outside, which is probably no surprise. But I don't watch other shows, generally speaking. And is that a good thing? Yeah, I think it is because it means when I sit down at an edit desk, you're going to get my voice, not one that's super influenced by some other recent show that's trying to please somebody. So on the con side, it means I work in a weird silo because I do so much of it on my own that I don't really interact or work with a lot of other filmmakers. That's kind of changed a little bit recently. A good buddy of mine has entered my life, Preston Canick, and he's a super talented film guy from Saskatchewan. But it means that I've kind of had to figure stuff out on my own. I've had to adapt to. Yeah, I've had to adapt to that, especially over the years. I'm about to self-shoot another episode here coming up. That's not the easiest thing to do, like at that level, to be able to
Yeah.
f- film it at the level that I'm used to, but with no other camera operator but yourself, it's not the easiest thing. So it's meant just lots of learning, especially around workflow and then compact gear because I can't be bringing lots of gear into a field. So you're having to figure out how to do some pretty neat production moves with really minimalist gears. So anyway, it's been an interesting go.
Is that intentional though? Like, conceivably you could bring another person along to hold a camera and film you.
Interesting. I for years, the first time that happened was in season 12.
Mm.
So it took 12 years before I put another camera person in the field.
Yeah.
It completely changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
It instantly, if I'm going with a colleague into the field, it's just me and them. Everyone gets used to the cameras just being around, and it's not, it for whatever reason isn't weird.
Mm.
As soon as it's me and a colleague in the field, but there's that other, there's
Yep.
the guy running around with equipment pointing cameras at you, everything feels a little weird.
Yeah.
The conversations become a little bit less personal. There's a little bit less of intimacy in the dialogue, and it becomes very performative very quickly. And it's really tough to dodge it.
It's funny you say that because I'll be doing like a cooking video or something, and I'll go through and I have my little shtick of whatever I'm going to say. This is a recipe, whatever. Second the camera goes on, I stumble through my words. I
Yeah.
completely forget what I was gonna say. And it's some sort of psychological thing in your head. It just changes things.
Yeah, and I'll give you another example that's like happened yesterday. I was on a set and we had an interviewee I was interviewing, but there was like four or five other people in the room, including the employer of one of the chefs I was interviewing. And I could tell that was rattling them. The fact that, but I've got a producer and an exec producer and the person's employer and me and the two cameras. And like, of course that person's gonna fail in that moment. It's nobody, unless you're used to it, it's an intimidating thing. And I think one of my skills in my occupation has been to be able to break that down to nothing, so or at least as little as possible, so that when we're having conversations with people, you do get emotional moments from folks because we're talking about stuff that they care about, and there's no one else in the room to judge their moment where they're getting emotional or whatever. And because I get to build rapport with these people, you know how it goes when you're in the field with someone, you get close pretty fast. So it becomes more personal, and From the Wild has always been that way. It's just me and friends. This is not me casting people to be on a show. It's me and people who I'm already friends with, and this is the documentation of us hanging out in the field doing fun things, like for real. So having a camera guy in the back seat while you're driving to location, and you can't talk about the problems you might be having at home or what, like those types of conversations that friends have when you're having a trip together. That was a bit of a deal breaker. That was a long answer, but that's why.
Yeah, no, I find that interesting, especially when you talk about your perspective when you're filming. And I'm not gonna be able to I'd say this, I don't know, I'm sort of stumbling through my words here, but it's
Go
like,
for it.
well, you talking about how you film your show, and to me, when you're describing it, it's you sort of sitting back, experiencing it, but viewing it through the lens and wanting other people to join you on that journey of, like, experiencing it through the lens. But how you
Mhm.
just described filming it, you're so in that moment with that person and the camera's not even there. It seems like it's almost at opposites how you describe it, but I mean it obviously works. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe even when you were describing filming it, you I don't know. Again, sort of jumbling through my words here, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's not the standard way to produce anything.
Mm,
And self-shooting stuff has become more normal, and it wasn't worth I sure learned a lot working with Les Stroud and learning a lot about his kind of some of his tricks for when Survivor Man was invented,
yeah.
back when self-shooting was not a thing at all. So he was for sure the pioneer of that idea. But self-shooting stuff wasn't anything I wanted to do, just for the record.
Yeah.
I was happy to not be on camera for From the Wild. It was both difficult to do because I was behind the camera,
Mm,
and I'm just not the type that wants to be have the camera pointed at me. Some people love it. I'm indifferent, and I used to hate it.
mm,
But over the years, people kept saying like, who's that person on From the Wild? I don't even know who that person. I don't care who that person is. Like it made me really aware of.
mm.
I'm like, that's one of the best chefs in the country, arguably the best. And people are like, I don't know who he is. His name's John. Um, and it made me aware that like, oh, I should have showed up in that episode, and maybe I should show up in my own show, and that I was the only through line, and that I was the only person that was actually doing consistent learning, and my growth curve was like like straight or exponential, and other people would dabble in it with me, and so their learning curves were different. So I learned probably about 4 or 5 years in, maybe 6 years in, how to properly film stuff of just me doing my thing. And it gets easier and easier and easier as you go.
And so you said starting season 13 this year?
Yep, we've already started shooting it. Shooting the
Yeah.
second episode here soon.
Are you sort of sticking around Alberta? Or are you doing some episodes out in BC again?
Yeah, episodes 3 and 4 will be in BC on the West Coast.
Nice. What are you targeting?
Well, nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
If we've been paying
Trick
attention.
trick question. I was like,
Yeah.
targeting is not the right word, but
No, we're going to go back to an island that I dearly love that kind of became my home base on the West Coast off
mm,
the coast of Yuki. And the idea, I'm going with a buddy of mine who was a former winemaker. He still makes wine, non-alcoholic wines now, in the Okanagan.
mm,
And we're going there to do like the holistic approach.
cool.
We're going to do some crabbing, and we're going to catch some fish. You can't put up a lot of fish when you're in a sea kayak camp like that. There's no refrigeration or ice or anything. By day two, the ice is toast anyway. It really will be probably goose barnacle focus and crab focus. Um, but who knows? I mean, it depends on what we track down. But goose barnacles are something that we haven't spent enough time on, and that island has lots. So that will be kind of, in my mind, a bit of a catch and cook episode. Like it's very very basic. Like it always blew me away that in the bushcraft world, people in Ontario could just like backpack into the backcountry and like make themselves a bush shelter and cook a steak and
Yeah.
like had 50 million views on YouTube. I'm like, wow, really? So I'm aware that the simplicity of that as a format works. And then the second one, I've long been trying to figure out how do you put up a substantial amount of seafood uh, when you're sea
Mm,
kayak fishing, to bring home. That's harder than it sounds. Because you're
yeah.
living on an island, you catch the stuff. We are paddling back to Ucluelet, dumping it off at the local fishmonger, getting them to flash freeze it for us, and then back in the boats and back out we go. So
Huh.
it's going to be a bit of a mission, and we'll be doing some halibut fishing too, which will be a bit of an
Oh, yeah.
interesting thing to do on a sea kayak.
You're gonna have to bring a 50-pound sack of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been talking with Lori about coming on the podcast, and, I mean, she's Newfoundland and salt cod, and just kinda got me thinking one of the ways you
Oh,
can
I see.
process your fish is just salt all your fish.
Yeah. I had an elder lady on the West Coast recommend like dig a big hole in the beach,
Okay,
like at low tide, and
yeah.
bury the stuff in bags and let the ocean water keep it cold. Haven't done it.
Hmm.
I think a flash freeze is my first choice.
Yeah, no, I think there's some technology that we wanna go with in this,
Yeah.
especially with fish, it's just you don't wanna mess around.
Yeah. Oh, the other piece of that is I've been studying sonar
Mm,
via navionics of the bottom of that entire sound,
yeah.
and have been looking at where I think the lingcod pinnacles are at their best.
Yes.
Um, and know that I've paddled over some that we didn't fish at all because we just didn't know they were there. So I'm making it very intentional. Like I'm plotting probably
Yeah,
6 to 10 different pinnacles in that area that we're going to fish very intentionally at certain tide points.
yeah.
Um, which is a different methodology. It's weird. There's on the east side of the island, my cousins introduced me to the ocean. They were fishing guides
Mm,
at Sonora Island, which is out by hour and a half northeast of Campbell River by boat.
mm,
And their current wins the day. And as fishing guides, they were so specific. Like when I was lane cod fishing there a few years ago, they said on the beginning of the ebb tide, get to 150 feet between that rock and that log, and you'll pull up a big lane cod every time. And you would go and you would do that. And we've been able to fish all kinds of species like that. I find on the west side of the island, there's less, it's a bit more spray hitting. There's a little less precision or specificity of location and timing. So I'm trying to take what I learned on the east side of the island, fishing wise, and move it to the west side of the island and learn some specific structure and timing around tides. So that may completely fail, but it's fun to try.
I that's what I love about fishing, though. There's, like, you go out with some people and they're like, "Oh, well, the moon's this or the moon's that," and, the tide, or it's a Wednesday, so you're not gonna do it, and, like, they'll be very specific. And then other people just kinda go out and they catch fish, and you're like, "God damn it, how do you do that every
Yeah.
time?" Travis is one of those guys. I go out fishing with him, he catches fish, and I fall in the water or whatever it is. My waders get full of water, but he just, like, I almost think he loves it so much, he just, like, his mind clears, and it gives him
Mm,
space for the fish to come in and be caught, and
mm.
but, yeah, no, it's, the BC coast is an amazing place, and there's a lot of different species that you can catch in the water.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy on social media, I can't remember his account, but he's like, his whole shtick is, "I've got a year and I'm gonna catch and
Oh, yeah.
cook."
I saw that. Yeah.
I think like JP Eats or something like that. He cooked a
Yeah.
starfish the other day and
Oh,
ate
yeah.
it, and it was like, sort of like a sea urchin, I guess. He said it wasn't very good, but, like, I am pretty blown away with the stuff that he is eating. It's way extends past your salmon and rockfish and
Oh, yeah. That's a big topic, passionate topic of mine, as you might imagine.
yeah.
I was interviewing a professor at UVic years ago who was working on sea lice and salmon farming and a whole bunch of other interesting topics off the side of his desk because they're unpopular to do research on for economic and political reasons. But
I
anyway,
bet.
he was talking. He was talking about what he was actually a leader in the slow food community there, and talking to me about sustainable aquaculture and sustainable fishing. And it really came down to people need to obsess less about certain species and think more about what's popular right now, actually, in the cities like sardines. People are catching on to little fish around here for whatever reason. I mean, you go to a different country like Spain or Portugal, and they're huge. They have stores just for that. But here, if you were to go book a fishing guide off the coast of the BC and ask to not fish for salmon or halibut, but other things, they would look at you like you're bloody crazy. And you feel like, I don't want rockfish either. I just want like squid and herring. Like they're not even geared for that. They have no equipment for that or skills to do it probably.
I've
So
done that before. They're like, what? We can get halibut." Like, we're in Alaska. We're like, can we go for squid?" Like, I've never caught a squid. Like, I really
love
wanna get.
that.
Yeah, and they're
That's
like,
so cool.
Sorry, what? No, we're gonna catch a few halibut
Yeah.
first, and then we'll do the squid." I'm like, What? This is what we wanna do." Like,
I find that the analog here is human me who's
yeah.
grown up on moose meat as a kid, and then you realize, oh, that's one thing, and we
Mm,
could just focus on the one thing. And now elk has kind of become the next thing for the older generation to focus on. But they're spending no time hunting a gray partridge, which is arguably the best bird in the
well,
province,
yeah,
or worrying about filling their pronghorn tag, which is probably arguably the best tasting game meat in the province. So it's just interesting how we fixate it actually, I find it really frustrating how humans fixate on specific species as the desirable stuff
yeah.
and then ignore everything else. So when I went to go learn the Pacific Northwest stuff, I thought, I'm going to get this. I've got an entire winter. There can't be that much to learn. And then the Pacific Ocean species count is like 235,000 species in the Pacific Ocean. I was like, oh no. Okay, you're not going to learn all this in a lifetime.
Yeah.
But it speaks to like if there's 235,000 species in the Pacific and all you care about is a Chinook salmon and a halibut, you're missing the bulk of it, the rest of it, which is just to me uh, bizarre. And it's not even about flavor or food at that point. It's not even like about oh, but there's so many other textures and flavors you could experience. Because I don't blame someone for being, yeah, but I like salmon. I'm like, so do I. I like salmon a ton. It's more about, for me, you could spend the whole day salmon fishing and not catch a salmon, or you could just like fill your boat full of all kinds of species of stuff that are just right there. Not saying don't salmon fish, but there's like all kinds of other things that are just always right in your face and people don't engage with it and therefore don't have any knowledge about it, which is just a bummer. I'm bummed
Yeah.
about the lack of knowledge of seaweeds on the BC coast. It's just brutal. It's
It's such a
bad.
novelty. It's like,
Yeah.
the only way you tend to see it is, like, kelp sliced into rings and pickled.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very rarely do you see any maybe blended with salt, but there's not
I
much.
shot a project once in Norway with a bunch of people from Netflix's Chef's Table and a whole bunch of Michelin star chefs from around the world. There was a long story, but there was a Taiwanese chef there who the Norwegian government was asking, so what has impressed you of all the things we've shown you of our entire country and all of our awesome stuff? What do you like the most? And he said, your seaweed is
Hmm.
outstanding. Like there doesn't exist around his
Huh.
part of the world, and they have just an incredible uh, biodiversity and abundance of seaweeds, and so do we. That's the only. I don't think I've ever seen healthier, more beautiful oceans than the coast of BC, and I've shot in California, Oregon, Colombia, Japan, China, like all over the place.
Yeah.
And the Pacific Northwest or BC specifically is just stunning. Anyway, it's just an example of something that most people don't spend any time with. And I'm not saying you should spend all your time there, but at least know how to use it a bit, but the basics and there's a time and place where it's like a clutch ingredient that makes a dish go from basic and okay to excellent. So
My grandparents used to go to the beach and collect seaweed and throw it in their garden. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean, there's more than just culinary uses too. Like,
yeah.
for people that wanna be outside, uh, it just allows you to be outside more days. Like you
I
said,
think I
you
think
can't fish salmon every day.
I'm going to respin that. It's almost like if you want to be a person who knows how to exist in this world in a way that's not attached to your Visa card being your permission to existence,
Yeah.
where you actually can use your brain and your body and your skills and knowledge and do and interact with the planet. That's been one of the weirdest takeaways to observe as a mentor, host, filmmaker, whatever it is that I'm doing is to have some humans that live in like some colleagues that are in Toronto, one in particular that came on the show, and hunting for her became almost like agency in the world, like a way to
Mhm.
feel like she could provide for herself in a way that she didn't feel capable of prior, and that the boreal forest can do this to a person too, like that there's so much abundance of shelter and warmth and food, plants and fish, and like it's just if you need
Yeah.
something, it's here. I've witnessed that two or three times and find it really powerful, and it maybe is one of the things that's motivated me along the way. I don't know, but I do find it a potent thing when people have been in the field for a few days and all of a sudden go, oh, interesting. I feel just like more of a capable human in this world and feel better in my own skin. And
I feel like I'm kicking a dead horse here, but, like, if you bought 8 cases of toilet paper during COVID, I think you would benefit from spending more time outside, right? Like, getting getting a little bit more comfortable with how things really work, and if you're
yeah,
able to provide an opportunity for people to, like, build a shelter, catch some food, like, it really does build confidence. I saw it myself. I saw it my son when he went hunting for his first deer and was successful in harvesting one, he became a totally different person. Like, he just
interesting.
he was more confident. He he just became more capable in everything. And we remove people's, in a day-to-day life, people don't have the opportunity to show what they're capable of anymore aside from getting in a car and getting road rage and sitting in front of a computer screen. So when they're able to source food and provide basic necessities for themselves, I think it does that for them.
Yeah. And I bump into a number of people who are, because I guide foraging a lot, like 50 times a year at the most.
Mm,
Um, there are people who are really interested in the herbal medicine side of things.
mm,
And so when you expand the notion of food as just something that tastes good as a cook or a chef, to something that's keeping me alive, some who is maybe the bushcraft survivalist person is interest. But the idea that some of these cocktails, the origin of the gin and tonic, for example, the tonic having quinine in it because it's an anti-malarial, and the lime being to prevent you from getting scurvy, and the gin being effectively a multivitamin prior to Flintstone vitamins and gummy bears.
yeah,
People actually took plant medicine through the format of gin and liqueurs. That's their origin.
yeah,
So food, that's one of the places I still think is fascinating because food expands from being just something that is like, oh, well, now I don't have to buy that beef from the store because I shot a deer, all the way to, managing your health through your engagement with nature, both through your diet and through like herbal medicine stuff. It's just bonkers that it can extend that far, and that there's so much interconnectivity between that and mixology. It's just endlessly interesting, so fascinating. That's an area that I'm still a dunce in, and I know I am because my one of my best friends, Robert Rogers, who's on the show, has written 65 books on herbal, plant, and fungus medicine.
wow,
He's 76, I think, this year, something like that,
oh my god,
and 75. And that's all he's ever done is write books on the subject. So when we go in the field together, it's just, you just shut up and listen because he can tell you about. He became a well-known speaker in fungal medicine and travels the world speaking on the subject. And he only learned about that once he ran out of plants to learn about.
well, I think that's probably a good place to stop. um
Right.
I really appreciate you joining me today, and I will make sure to put links to your show. Um, Anything else people might want to know about you, I'll get that information and I'll link it over to your website and all the rest.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you very much.